these guys all cleaned up for us. First thing you do is sweat your metal. So what that looks like is when you're going along, you'll see it almost builds up condensation, like something you'd see on the side of a glass. There it is, right there. See how that kind of goes away? So you chase that, get rid of all that. Also, these are not the right gloves. They're just the gloves that fit my hand. There are wax and patina gloves right here. Please use these. If your hands don't fit, feel free to find some that do, but just make sure they're relatively clean. So we're just going to go along and get this ready. Nina, do you mind pouring some distilled water just into that cap for me, please? Yeah. I'll show you why. Yeah, so if you have moisture on there, it's going to mess with your patina because it's not going to soak into the actual pores of the metal. There we go. Big pieces, work from the ground up, heat rises, right? We need to prep before we do the rest of our patinas, and I'll wait till Tatiana's back for that because she probably wants to see that stuff. But right now I'm going to do 4 of these in liver and 1 in the M20 gun blowing. So basically I'm just going to get these like, yeah, but not crazy. Like you don't want it instantaneous. You want it kind of like a skillet, and so that's not quite hot enough. We'll just cook this guy a little longer. There we go. So that's a nice one for our liver there. I'm just going to make this black. So when your liver comes out and looks like that, that's nice. However, if you find yourself wanting to do a bunch of little pieces, you can do liver in a bath. Heat just acts as a catalyst. So if you put it in the bath, it will turn black like that. It just takes longer. Okay. So that one's pretty well where we want it to be. And we'll just keep going around. This one's already been sweat, and I'm going to use it for my M20. So I'm just going to set it off to the side, because the M20 gets applied cold. So the heat process for your liver is not super critical at the moment, just because you're just using it again as a catalyst. When we get to the cupric and the ferric, it is very important that you have the right temperature. Cupric will burn. It will actually get a really nasty yellowy green color instead of a nice sort of turquoise color that you're going for.
I like the sound of purple.
Yes, yes, and so liver of sulfur and cupric nitrate are actually chemically unstable together. You can get it to work. If you seal it right away, it can last a while, but unfortunately, it doesn't quite have. Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's right. It doesn't last a whole long time. There we go. So you see, those two weren't quite hot enough, so they took a little bit longer there. The bronze, well, your low points are going to accentuate that form.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and there's an art to that too. If you go in afterwards and you decide you want it buffed back a little more in some spots, you can use sharp tools to really define your edges.
Cool.
Yeah, so the liver buff is an important part of the process. Yeah. If you don't like that, you can buff it back a little bit too. It doesn't have to be super black if you're not a fan.
Can you name it like that?
Yes, you can. Actually, I was just speaking with Dennis on the phone about that. We were having a bit of a discussion because years ago I did a piece and I really liked the bronze as is. I did this robot and I just wanted to kind of look like a steel or bronze robot. So what I did was I just used clear coat. The problem with clear coat though, and instead of wax, wax can be easily fixed up and reapplied if it ever seems like it's not sealing. Clear coat starts to flake off after a while. When that's happening, then you got to reapply, and it's never quite right. You got to sandblast and try and get that done. The other thing with the wax is for you guys right now, because you're just starting out, you're trying to kind of get a feel for what aesthetic you really enjoy. Wax is easy to get off. You burn it. So you get that tiger torch in there going just rocking hot, and then you cook off all the wax you can before you put it in the sandblaster. Do not sandblast it with wax on your piece. It just makes a mess, and it's not very effective. It's taking a little bit of time there. So it does help to have it at full strength, but this will change. So when it comes to containers and brushes, you know, safe work procedures, make sure that everything's labeled. You know what chemical's in there, and you make sure your brushes are labeled, and do not cross-contaminate. You end up with kind of a nasty little look to it.
So this is an alternative to that?
Yes, yes, and in fact, I would say the Kubrick, there will be two of them, one on liver and one on M20 gun gluing. We'll do two acrylic. Too hot, but in the time it takes me to go and get the thing and come back, it'll probably be fine. Here we go. Last year's ferric. We'll see how. Oh, the spray bottle sucks too. I do have more spray bottles. So, Patina should be a natural hair bristle. Obvious reasons, heat and plastic don't go together very well, and you'll end up with plastic bristles all over your piece, and that takes forever to clean. It sucks. I did remove all the plastic ones that I saw this morning, but if you come across one and it leaves a mark, throw it out. Yes, so yeah, you can do it either way. I was just trying to get a targeted spot. I want to get this dragonfly nice and that was good. So again with Kubrick and ferric, I would go in and I would probably get another color and try and fill in these honeycombs. Get like a nice, real deep color inside there. That's where your base coat helps. So when you buff that back, if you leave this really rich, a nice clean bronze, but you leave that super dark, then you don't have to use your ferric to define all that difference. It will show through.
So you can buff the honeycomb, for example, up to a golden color, like a bronze gold?
Yes, yes.
Cool.
For sure. Yeah, buffing is part of this. So even though I've coated this whole thing in ferric, it still doesn't look very good, so I'd put it underneath the tap, again, to neutralize it, because we do still need to neutralize our ferric. And then you can buff that back and get all those high points and sort of define where you want the bronze to show through. Because...
So do both the gun blue and the liver get heat treated for the Cooper?
I missed that last little bit. Go ahead.
Open up.
Do both the gun blue and the gun blue and liver get heat treated for Cooper?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Cooper you still apply with heat. You need that catalyst.
Yeah, you can see the moisture just coming off it.
Yeah, that's
really
exactly
cool.
what you need.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Get it just a touch hotter. And you'll find you definitely need more cupric than you do ferric. But I have lots of extra bottles from last year kicking. Like this one that doesn't work. Yeah, get it home again. So, I probably should have had that guy hotter, because you can see as soon as you burn it, you're just turning it right there. That's what it looks like when you start burning your cupric. Yeah, it looks like moss. It does have its place. It's kind of a pain in the butt though. Yes, yeah. I'll heat this up too. But you'll find that this does get much richer once the wax is on it. It does kind of come to life a bit more. But the cupric takes forever on liver, and it seems to build a lot better on the gun blue.
Cool, you can see the green from the copper.
That's right.
In the
That's
flame.
what you're going for.
Yeah, but in the flame even.
Yeah.
You're getting that, yeah.
There we go.
Wow.
There. Yeah, so it's coming to life now. And you'll find with the ferric too, you can do that, and the ferric comes out like a really rich red. little sizzle as you're applying it. Kind of goes a long way, so you can see you're bringing the color up now. There we go. Aha! Sorry, I feel like I was a bit out of practice there, but now I'm getting it. So, you see it's starting to get a little more heat there. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Okay, sweet. That's looking a lot better now. I had concerns. So yeah, so this is the liver one, and even though it looks like it's coming along. Alright, come back to that one. Oh, our gun boy. How you doing? Just like this? Yeah. I kind of like it too. Well, that's buffing. Like, you can buff it to make it look like that too, right? There's nothing wrong with giving yourself a little extra Kubrick to kind of give yourself something to play with. It's easier to buff it back than it is to add it again after. You gotta come in here, turn on the torch, get all your stuff. Somebody else might jump in here after you, and then you gotta wait. Ferric too, it seems to last for a really long time. And if you do Kubrick right, even if you seal it properly, it's usually okay. It's just for whatever reason, the Kubrick and the liver, they continue with reacting with each other over time. I have an awesome book on patinas at my house. I'll try and grab it at lunch if I go out there. If not, I'll bring it in tomorrow. But it's like a recipe book for patinas. Not a huge difference, but this, if you go really, really turquoise color that just seems to last forever. So this one's not bad. So this is liver on, or sorry, Kubrick on liver, and it looks good now. Probably get a few months out of that, and then it'll kind of start to stabilize. But this will continue as is. Yeah. So when you're mixing your watercolor acrylics, you're trying to find the right amount. It is such a potent pigment, especially if you're doing like an ultramarine blue or a cadmium red or something like that. They're potent pigments. They go a long way. So you don't need it super, super rich like that. Mix it up so you can do a wash across a piece of paper and you kind of end up something like that. That way, when you apply it, you can do it in layers and step it up and up and up instead of having to worry too much about that. Actually, I'm going to test that. It's still a little... I'll try it. What's the worst that can happen? There we go. So that's a good temperature, actually. That nice slow evaporation. And you can see your bronze is still showing through at this point. I can go to the point where it's just painted, right? But that's not really a patina. So it's something to keep in mind. If you want to go for that look, like say you have a figure and they're wearing clothes and you want to paint that piece of clothing a certain color, by all means, go for it. That's sort of, like we're sort of getting to the point where it's less of a technical skill set as it is an artistic choice. So patinas are an art in themselves. There's guys who work at foundries and their only job is just to do patinas. I'm not that guy. but you can get to that point. So that's not bad. That's like a nice kind of light coloring. It's not super crazy. It's not over the top. Sort of mimics ferric, but not truly. See, ferric is just warming up your bronze. It still looks like bronze with a liver buff. It's not really crazy. just kind of warms it up. If you go super, super rich with it though, like you can get that deep red with your ferric, and it looks really nice. It's a nice.
It almost looks rusty.
Yeah, well it is. Ultramarine is a potent one. It goes on pretty heavy. So hopefully I diluted this enough. I think I did. Just do one over there. It's still hot. We'll give it a second. So, it's still pretty hot. Might be okay. And so these brushes too, I'll cut them back to nice sharp points, and then you'll be able to go in there and really dial in specific sections. Because right now it's just sort of pouring all over the place. Actually, the acrylics are turning out better than I hoped, really. So it's good that you guys get to see this, because over Reading Week now you can do acrylics. And that just opens up a whole variety of things that you can do.
The acrylics are just basic acrylic paints, so there's nothing fancy about it. If we run out of those colors,
I would go with the water base acrylic for sure, like watercolor acrylics. Because the other ones, they have like a bonding agent and a bit of a gesso to them that sort of, you know, acts as like an applicator, but you don't want to be burning that shit off. But yeah, just regular old acrylics, because I was explaining this to Cubby earlier. All it is a pigment suspended in a solution, and then that dries on your paper, and all you're left with is the pigment. And that's exactly what we're doing here. We're removing the solution and just leaving behind the pigment.
and also diluted in distilled water.
Yeah, I mean, I like